What's up? What's up, everybody? It's me. It's early in the morning. I wanted to get up and start gaming, and I was already gaming before. I just decided, fuck, let me just turn on the camera. So I'm trying to get everything to work. I've noticed that I have had a problem with shit streaming to my Facebook Live page. For some reason, it hasn't been, and let me see. There it goes. There goes a pop. Great, great. So it is actually popping. So let me just update this. Weekend gaming Sunday edition. Sunday morning. Oh God. I was actually up. I was up pretty late last night. Um, People talked. We were talking about the G-Man debate on Drag's channel. Um, yep, there it goes. It looks like it's connected and it's working. Great. Hmm. I don't know what the fuck has been going on with Facebook. I know that they have a new service. It's a new platform for them, but it's been fucking up. And man, I want to actually I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to get some shit together. Uh, Trying to actually make sure that everything is set up as it should be. Oh, so fun fact: fucking Jill actually came to my channel and was upset about the Helsing thumbnail. You can tell that he's not an anime fan, doesn't really know what Helsing is, and I wish. Oh, I can't put it up. I want to put it up so bad. Put some big breasted anime titties on up, so he can actually get his feelings can actually hurt. But I'm gonna put the Holy Night up. Make him feel good. All right, cool. Let me just make sure that thumbnail is updated. And while I'm doing that, guys, let's get on with it. Patreon/6 PS4 Gaming, and you can also follow me at Facebook 606 PS4 Gaming. Thanks for your support and enjoy the video. All right, guys. All right. So I was actually playing Farming Simulator this morning, because reasons. This is like just weekend gaming, so I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna hold off, and like I fucking want to play Spider-Man so bad, and I think I am, but even today, I think I am, but let's fucking see. Fuck it. Let's do some Smite. And let me just update the gaming shit. I'm gonna do some Smite today. I figured I might as well, right? And just while I'm getting this set up, if you guys want to actually either directly support me or support my merch, you can actually go to uh, this actual link that I typed in the chat. Oh, come on, Streamlabs. All right. I really want to get a I really want to get a more powerful GPU. I think that because I got a 1 gig GPU, and I want to actually just get a more powerful GPU. Edit that. Update and Smite. Updating everything, guys. Oh shit, I just fucked up. Sorry about this. This is the reason why I'm actually just setting up everything and just chilling, like for real. And speaking of just chilling, um no, I'll keep the yeah, I'll keep it as Smite. Okay, cool. Let's log in with fucking Twitch. My frame rate is fucking tanking. Because it's actually just trying to bring up a different window. There goes a restream chat, but let's see. Let's make sure the cloud bot is working. All right, shit is working now. It should actually be working, and that looks like everything is going. Let's fucking make sure that we shut the stream. Whew, didn't want that shit to go live while I'm actually doing this. See, I normally do this shit when I'm setting up, but since it's so early in the fucking morning, games community event. Ooh, ooh. What's the community event? Oh, what does that shit remind me of? Fucking Holo. Oh, that shit. That's what that shit remind me of. Yeah. All right. So, what do we actually get today? Oh, why is everybody trying to sell gems today? For real, like I play a game called Hero Wars, and they're trying to actually start a sale on gems. Like for real, it's just one of those things where just like uh, games help grow the community. Play games to help grow the community bar and activate awesome rewards. Play 2 games to complete each level and unlock the reward for your personal bar. Okay, so 37 days remaining. I guess I'm logging in for the 37 days. I guess. I guess it's just any game. Okay, cool. A minute and a half to go. So while we're waiting for this video to come up, perfect timing, perfect timing. Waiting for this game to start. We're gonna talk about this video. So I don't know if I actually did this video before. I saw that I watched some of it, but I think it's because I have it in my watch later and automatic play. Of course, that shit happens. And so what ends up happening is, um, yeah, let's talk about universal basic income. Let's look at this date. Um, wow. It's still relevant. So let's go ahead and have this conversation. Okay, just small point. I'm being pedantic. I know. So one of the things that like always kind of bothered me is like intros. Like you never know how long, and maybe it's just my brain working. I used to have a 5 fucking minute intro. Actually, it's still on my channel. It's still on my YouTube channel where I have a 5 fucking minute intro of me just playing games. And maybe I need to get back to that. Just like I don't know, just fucking playing games and just watching the shit. I don't know. It's just like I like I like this format that I'm doing, But sometimes I just want to play games. I don't know. It's just one of those weird fucking things with me. But I'm off on a tangent. So intros is just I don't know. Should I keep a longer? Should I keep the longer minute intro that I have? Because I actually timed it. I got it down to 55 seconds. Should I? It's just those concise intros, and I don't know. Maybe it's emblematic of my channel because I ramble. But let's go. All right, sorry about that, guys. I usually have my mic on, so yeah, I had to turn off my mic because while I'm doing commentary videos, I don't mind fucking having a mic on. While I'm doing just gameplay videos, I don't mind having a mic on. When I'm doing commentary videos, that's a little bit different. Damn, that Daji actually looks pretty cool for a nice little pose. But yeah, artist in me and shit. What's up, this one guy? Okay, so first, I just want to throw in a lot of shit. I'm like just applying to this one guy. I just want to throw in a lot of shit because I a lot of it is just me gaming. But let's just talk about the point that he actually just made. There was a fear with the rise of automobiles that so many people would be out of work with horse and carriage and shit like that. And it's quite literally a fear that a lot of fucking people had that every time a new invention comes along, it's gonna actually totally destroy society. And I get it. I get the fucking fear. Some jobs are made obsolete. That's a given. Now, some jobs inspire different when they are eliminated. They inspire different fields, different industries that weren't exactly there before. But we're automating our way, truthfully, into a new paradigm. It's what's happening right now. And with the inflexibility of our current system, I don't know if we can actually, we can actually invent another way out. Like, quite literally, you're what a lot of people are doing are being innovative to kind of say, hey, we're getting this rid of this, we're getting rid of that, we're actually helping with this. But in the end, they're not innovating ways to also make sure people are secure. Now, the fun thing is there were social programs that fucking help people find new careers. There were physical labor jobs that actually they can actually switch to. The old joke about that would help a lot of people get out of the depression is that the government paid for somebody to come dig a hole and the next day pay for somebody else to fill that hole back in. It still required labor, but those were social programs. And is it now time to just drop the facade and say that, hey, we need government spending to help fucking address a lot of the social ills that a lot of people have? That's what universal basic income is. We have the biggest fucking job project in the world. It's called the U.S. military. That's a social program. People pay taxes to fucking to help support the military industrial complex. And is it now time to start spreading that social program to, well, frankly, to the citizens, not just the military? Let's have that conversation. And so, this social welfare programs are not new. They're not. They have been around for years. Ever since there was a power base that needed to protect itself, there were always social welfare programs. Because here's the thing, when there aren't any social welfare programs, you actually you have things like the French Revolution. You have things like the Russian Communist Revolution. Now, the thing about it is, when there is so much social unrest where people are just like, I have no other choice but to grab those fucking pitchforks, you need to cut it off at the pass before it actually gets there. And I am somebody who actually believes in more of a social a social the hybrid between communistic thinking and communist thinking. That's what I say socialism is. It's a hybrid. And no, you don't get rid of all the fucking power structures. And no, there's gonna be some leaders, but you always want to have these fucking leaders in a thing where, hey, we need to keep our heads, so we need to fucking make sure that we keep people in fuck we keep people from wanting to, you know, invent or redesign the guillotine. The fuck is wrong? But let's continue. I want to kill the sun god. I couldn't get Caffrey. Fucking Zeus. All right. So, what leaders have religious background have any effect on our judgment? If they were religious, they would. So here's the thing, and I'm gonna actually say one thing. There have been many religious leaders, thinkers, and people where they are more inclined to be they're more inclined to actually want to help out the poor, be it from a true belief in a true belief in wanting to actually say, hey, we're all, God's children, and we all should be focused on making sure everybody is taken care of, if only to make sure that, you know, everybody is equal. It doesn't have to worry about their subsistence on this earth. I want to kill a sun god. I have an issue with fucking sun gods in this game. I like killing them. I'm sorry. Especially when I'm sold. But I fucking couldn't get Kefri. I'm sorry. It's just me. It's my personal thing. I'm the only sun god in this motherfucking game. Gotcha, bitch. Fuck. Zeus tried to pull that fucking lightning down. All right, but and the thing about it is, I get it, and I'm not gonna say everybody who are leaders in church are corrupt or evil or doing it for their own power, but a lot of people who want to rise to leadership, not gifted with leaderships, they have that mentality like, I'm doing this for my own power, I'm doing it for my own sake, and that's disturbing to me. That's fucking disturbing to me because they're not caring about the people that's underneath them. And even if you were to say they were caring about the people that's underneath them to make sure that they keep their power, they don't even do that because they drop the facade of it quickly. But it's just one of those things where if people actually truly cared about other people and not their power, that would actually make the world a better place. But let's continue. Okay, so I'm sorry didn't let him complete his thought. So this is a great trick that people in power actually use, and if you're just this disgusting that you want to actually use this trick, and I was talking with somebody last night about this shit, where who has more power? The immigrant who is fleeing from a country because they're in dire fear of losing their fucking life and get a job picking plants that not they are beneath me, but the job is, I either consciously or subconsciously feel that it's beneath me. Who has more? Who they want to do the shit? They want to actually do those tasks and jobs, which, quite frankly, I don't want to do. The fact is, are they who coming and taking barely subsistent wages to live or to actually make sure that they fucking survive? Do they have power? Or is the motherfuckers who are giving them shitty ass jobs and quote unquote taking it away from the rest of us have power? If I was to say, that's like an analogy with the kid. You take your kids to a fucking park. You see you see them fucking ice cream cone. They want ice cream. And what they do is say, you give one kid an ice cream cone and you blame the other kid and say, look, see, I only had enough money to give one kid an ice cream cone and they the reason why They're the reason why you didn't get the ice cream cone, because I had to give it to them because they were crying a little bit louder. That's what this actually all boils down to. Somebody selectively being just an asshole and not actually caring about other people, their only caring about their bottom line, their profit, their benefit, and saying that, oh, because we don't want to share more, it's the other people's fault because they got it. For whatever fucking reason, it's their fault. Yes! Fucking got carefree. Motherfucker. I'm sorry. Let's go. All right, so this is one of the reasons why a universal basic income can actually work really effectively. So, for one, there has been a seriously strong demonization of people who are poor. They're poor because they choose to. No, you're poor because you're immoral, or you're poor because for some reason it's something that you did to make you poor. And anything that you say against that is just an excuse because, rich people got a rich. They deserve to be rich. It's a moral imperative actually placed on people's wealth or well-being, no matter where they started off from. People actually say quite quite succinctly, "Oh no, you're poor because you're just bad people. You're poor because you don't have the budget right. You're poor because it's something innately wrong with you. That's the reason why you're poor. It's your fault. You did it. It's your fault." I'm sorry, I went into Eminem for a second. And the fact that a lot of people actually buy into this, people who have been poor themselves, they started off poor, but they themselves have been, oh wait, they've been conditioned to say it's their fault. Wait, let's read this comment. So, what farmer doesn't pick his own crop? If these agricultural people are they simply just switch locations? I will say this: if you actually look at migrant farm workers, there are seasons for different crops, and it'd be different if we lived in a society that didn't try to specialize in things that make, how do I put it? We, in a lot of cases, we're so highly specialized in some of the fields that we try to do that it's to our detriment at times, and that's what happens. And what we see with, especially with migrant farmers and the proliferation of giant agro businesses, what happens a lot is that a lot of people, you've fuck I want lost. You've actually lost the flexibility that you've had with having multiple crops in multiple different locations because it doesn't make you the same amount of profit. So you get specialized farmers, and quite frankly, I do not want to go back to an agrarian lifestyle. I like modern life too fucking much. No, I will actually disagree with you. I would disagree with you because people want to work. I will say this: there, people want to work, and these aren't people. Bear with me on this one. And this is what I'm going to go to. These people have left their home for hundreds, maybe thousands of miles away in order to come to a place. This is a dangerous journey. They're not just sitting back and saying, "Oh, we don't want to work." Hell, let's use me as an example. I would want to do YouTube all day. It's not that I would want to not want to work. I want to put my efforts into something that I can actually do that's fulfilling to me. One thing that I agree with Marx is people want to feel connected to their work. And there are certain machines in yeah, I get it. And that's one of the things about universal basic income. There are certain machines that aren't advanced enough to do the things like I wouldn't trust a machine to pick fucking I like greens. I wouldn't trust a machine to pick greens. We don't have machines in a we don't have machines advanced enough to pick cherries. We don't have machines advanced enough to pick apples. We don't have those parts of the machines that would actually be would actually be delicate enough not to destroy tomatoes. And once we get to that point, what do we do about the people whose jobs that were affected by that universal basic income? So I just one thing that I can never criticize somebody for is being poor because they're lazy. Being poor isn't a lack of character, it's a lack of money. And if we want to actually say that people who don't want to work, they're lazy, every fucking capital owner is fucking lazy because they don't do the work of the people that they hire. But let's continue. All right, I haven't seen this study. Okay, okay, yeah, I know what this. I know this. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the Alaska oil and gas tax revenue and all that other good shit. But and you can actually say that that's the longest the version of this experiment. Let me address the chat right quick. So there's going to be a time where you can automate out cleaning jobs. I'm I'm dead fucking serious. There are Roombas now. There are certain Japanese hotels where certain things have been automated out. There people are capitalists are trying to automate out a lot of shit. And again, what do we do with those low skilled workers? Those people who can't advance. And just think about what low skilled workers actually are considered now. There are people who would be considered low skilled workers now that weren't 50 years ago, 20 years ago. But yeah, wait, like truck drivers were considered advanced high skilled workers. Hello Google, meet automatic truck drivers. Oh, shit. Google popped up. I'm sorry. But oh shit. What I would say is this. And we're gonna get to the point that Richard Wolff was actually talking about. And Alaska. But as we heard with my previous videos with like Rucker Buckman about the videos about the Canadian experiment for like a couple of years, you know, yeah, it was they thought divorce rates went up, but they were just a statistical error. But what happened was domestic violence went down, fucking drug use went down. Motherfuckers had a feeling of, hey, I can fucking make it and I have enough money. And people actually fucking felt better for that time where they had a universal basic income. There was even this is fun, and people made fun of the shit. So instead of giving direct grants to people in Italy for the museum, they said, hey, if you're a student, we're gonna actually give you money to buy art shit and or use it for enjoying art. And people laughed at the shit, but a lot of museums saw an increase, an uptick of fucking art of antiquity museums. And the shit was just hilarious. It's like every time you give money, it's like almost every time you give money to poor people to spend, or people that may not even be poor, that just may not be able to save up money, they spend it. And when they spend it, shit gets done. I as much as I fucking hated Bush and his tax cuts, but when he gave people that money, that extra $600 like check to that one time, and it was just like, oh shit, I can actually spend some fucking money. People bought shit. And that's the thing, like, come on, let's shit. Okay, that's good. It ran out. What the fuck? Who killed me? Jeb. Oh fuck, I hate this mother. But let's continue. I have to say this. Did he just take some shots at creationists? Nobody's living or has ever been around put the shit there. Like, I think that was a shot. I think that was a shot. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's me being just a fucking just um, antithetical against other people. But I take that as a shot. Nobody put it there. But let me just go ahead. The fuck? Hades and Zeus is working real well together. Okay, yeah. So this is actually pretty cool because, and this is one of the this is one of the fears I think that a lot of people that don't want Medicare for all. You see it with, you know, Social Security. You see it with Medicare and Medicaid. When people get shit for free, fuck, just look at things on the internet. When people get shit for free, they don't like it when you take away their free shit. Is man. Even if it was never meant to be fully free, don't take away my free shit. Or don't take away things that I like. No, you man, you haven't seen people take away shit that people like? No. It is not gonna be fun. It is gonna be a shitty ass time. Like, quite literally, and not that it's justified, but look at fucking gamers that have been around long enough to remember that you can used to get cheat codes for games or different costumes or alternate costumes for completing the challenge in the game. And now they want to go back and sell that shit to you? Fuck no. And that's why I fear, because if everybody starts to get it and there's no requirement to get it other than being a breathing fucking Homo sapien, it fucking works. Everybody fucking loves it. And they will make sure you understand, don't take my shit away. But let's continue. Shit! So, and this is the thing. You know what? They are partially right. You would have people withdrawn from corporate jobs where they would say, "Hey, let me start my own business. Let me start my own investment. Let me see what I can do to not have to rely on the corporate overlord and masters that you see so much." Yeah, you see this shit. And quite frankly, yes, there will be people that won't kill themselves to try to work a job that's fucking literally stressing them out. You'll see people that will fucking saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go back to school." You'll see people that says, "Hey, I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom." You're gonna see people who says, "Hey, let me actually use this money as a way of using as a value of subsiding on work." What's up, Blue Blue Skill? I'm sorry if I'm gonna pronounce your name. You're gonna see these people who actually fucking would actually return to a quote unquote labor that doesn't pay them. There is value, and I said this in the last video that I reviewed of Richard Wolff's. People who, mothers who raise families, fathers, whoever, if you're at home with the kids, there is a value to that. You may not get a payroll, you may not actually get a tax return, but you're performing a service. And I hate to have to commodify everything, but you're paying, you're doing work. If you had to commodify it, if you had to fucking put a price tag on it, people would pay for that shit. So yeah, oh, somebody isn't working. What else are they doing? But let's continue. Blues Clues. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. So, okay, thanks, Blues Clues. I'm a phonetic speller, so when I see shit, I tend to pronounce it like it's actually written. So, thank you for enlightening me of that. And again, it's not me making fun of you. It's actually me with my the way that I think. But let's actually get into exactly what was being said here. It's if it's a universal basic income, there is no shame to actually getting it. It's nobody's. And so if you're making a fucking profit off of it, why should only a select few people actually make a profit out of it? It should be if it was there before humans arrived, you know, it was there on day 5, not, humans arrived on day 6. I'm sorry. But if it was there before people arrived, why should only a select few people actually get it? Fucking Hades. Try to fucking Hades. Yeah, motherfucker. Run now, bastard. Yes! Yes! Try to come after me, motherfucker. Oh shit. Oh shit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That was assholish of me. I'm sorry. I'm petty. I'm fucking petty. But yeah, no. And then it takes a shame. It takes a shame of saying, well, this person isn't working for it. Fuck, we're all not working for it. And I tend to agree that there is a false scarcity that is promoted by capitalism. There are. And until we deal with that, until we say, hey, there's enough for everyone at least to be able to be fed, clothed, and housed. That's why I don't believe I'm referencing this, but if you look at the Skinner box experiment, where the primary needs of food, shelter, and rest, those can actually be met with humans quite easily. Quite easily. It's the shit that is unlimited, like social capital, power, wealth. Those those are unlimited, but it is made to seem limited. I don't know, but let's continue. Motherfuckers are motherfuckers really targeting me because they think I'm a glass cannon. Like for real, I know I have soul. I know I play with soul, but I fucking can run. Like the fuck is. Whew. Let's continue. All right, so let's just let's just talk about this shit. What's funny is that Alaska is probably one of the reddest motherfucking states in the fucking country, and like it was actually seen as stupid to actually have Alaska. It was like the Yucatan Purchase was seen as a stupid thing to actually do. But quite frankly, it turned out really fucking well. It did turn out incredibly well. But we can do that in other states. Fuck. The US can do that for people who want to drill for oil in Texas. Fuck. Instead of trying to motherfucking bribe Amazon, the one of the countries that actually has so much profit and so much fucking influence, you're gonna give them tax breaks to move their fucking headquarters or headquarters to your fucking city. No, fuck that. They should actually. Here's what we're gonna do. Until you, until you pay motherfucking taxes, we're gonna tax the motherfucking land you sit your fucking building on. And after we tax that land that you sit your building on, and you're gonna pay us for having the opportunity to use our citizens in your motherfucking job. Yeah, these are our motherfucking citizens. And you know what? We're looking out for them. We're you should have it you should count it as a privilege that we're going to be using our citizens to help fund your business. But local and state governments don't think that way. They think, how do we suck off that corporate penis in order to make sure that they throw us a little bit, that little bit of $2 afterwards? And it's fucking hilarious. It's fucking sad. Not it's I wouldn't say hilarious. It's fucking sad where a lot of the times it's we have to bend the corporate will versus just saying like no, we're representatives of our citizens. Our citizens elect us to look out for them, and this is what it's gonna be. But let's continue. Fuck. All right, so this is actually fucking awesome because I mean Roosevelt, he kind of was progressive. He actually did have a second bill of rights, of worker rights or citizen rights He did have that, but what was fucking awesome is that this is what caused the push for Roosevelt. This is what caused the people to act. This is what caused. Um, damn it, we lost. This is what caused. It's just like people were rioting in the streets. The fucking depression had spawned communists. It spawned socialists. It spawned all of these people, and he was rightfully scared. Let's be honest. The global economic depression of the 1920s spawned fascism in Europe, and it spawned um, severe totalitarian communism in Russia. So there had to be a, there had to be something that would buttress against that. So he had to cave. He had to give. But let's continue. All right, so we're gonna let this play just a little bit while I'm doing this. So it's actually pretty interesting. Where um, let's see if you guys are still here. Okay, cool. It's pretty interesting where a lot of it is like, well, progress. It's the cost of progress. What kind of gets me about this whole situation is that it's only the cost for progress if it doesn't affect you. What gets me is the whole thing about progress that happened. Instead of just saying like, and I'm not even saying hold back progress. Like we were discussing in the chat, if you actually have to have the conversation about how uh, machines can actually automate jobs out, you should also have a plan in place. What do you do when AI can actually do a lot of other shit? What do you do when you have it where fucking what do you do when you have it where people's jobs are lost for shit that they couldn't do. What are you gonna do then? Say that they're lazy? Are you really gonna say that they just don't know what they're doing? They just don't want to work? Like, what do you do with that shit? How do you handle that? How do you actually just address that people get in fucked up situation due to no fault of their own? How? Like, what do you do? Is it all just their fault? So yeah, the universal basic income actually does help. And let's just get into the rest of it. So here we go. Hmm.
Nation. And I pointed out that, of course, this could be done anywhere, that the money could be raised by taxing wealth, by taxing the corporations, by taxing the rich, and that could assemble the money, just like they did in Alaska, to provide for the fund to be invested and to earn income, which could then be distributed to everyone exactly the way Alaska does with the Alaska Development Fund. But in this part of the program, I want to do the analysis. What has happened to create the problem? Because however much you may believe that universal basic income is a decency provided to poor people who deserve no less, it may well fall short of the kinds of solutions and alternatives that ought to be part of this discussion and that often aren't, as if all we're going to do is discuss the pros and cons of a universal basic income, its presence or its absence, as if there were no other choices, and that's not reasonable. I like to give the metaphor that if someone accosted you on the street and said, I'm going to give you free choice, I'm either going to stab you to take your money or I'm going to shoot you to take your money, but it's your free choice, you wouldn't be excited about the freedom of choice because you don't want that choice.
Okay, that shit was awesome. Like, quite literally. And I address this with a lot of people, like, where I have conversations in my private life where it's just like, yeah, so if you're having to deal with shitty choices, is it your fault if you make a shitty choice? Well, you have the right to choose. And, like, I have to credit this to, thank God for him, Jim Sterling. Economic violence is still fucking violence. Like, quite literally, you're giving people shitty choices and saying these are your only choices that you can actually make. So you better choose the right one. That's still a shitty choice. That's still, oh well, they chose. They chose to die by the stabbing versus the fucking fuck Finnear. Fucking hate this motherfucker. Let's continue.
You don't accept those as the only alternative.
Do I have to die by the claw? Do I get die by the teeth? Like just shit like that. But let's continue.
that you are to choose between. And I want to make that case in terms of yes or no for universal basic income. So let's begin with the basic reality. Back in 1950, something on the order of 35%, over a third of Americans working, were working either on the farm or in the factory. They were doing what we call agricultural or manufacturing work. It took more than a third of us to produce the goods that we all needed to consume. Fast forward to the last couple of years. It's 10% of the American people that now work on the farm and in the factory. 9 out of 10 people in our society who are not working on the farm and are not working in manufacturing. That's part of why Mr. Obama's efforts to revive manufacturing and now Mr. Trump's efforts are public relations stunts and have done nothing to change the long-term trajectory of declining manufacturing and farming. Why? Because productivity grew. We developed technologically the way to have fewer and fewer people producing more and more things. And so what happened? And here comes the crux of it. In a capitalist system, the capitalist, the employer, has the following incentive. If a new machine comes along, whether it's a combine on the land or a new computer-aided machine.
Yes, son got killed.
The employer sees, oh my goodness, I have a chance at making more profit.
Time to get
what the
raw.
employer does is fire. Let's use a simple example. Let's suppose a machine comes along that makes all workers twice as productive as they were before. So instead of 100 workers, you only need 50 to produce exactly the same amount of output. Whether that's tomatoes or whether that's cell phones, it doesn't really matter. Okay, what happens in a capitalist enterprise is the employer fires half the people.
So let's just address this. In a system where we have innovation is held above everything else, what ends up happening is the you can't really cut costs as far as the actual materials, but the one cost a lot of capitalists go to is employee costs, labor costs. That's the first thing that a lot of capitalists go to because you can quote unquote negotiate labor costs. So you have this thing where if productivity is actually reached and people are more productive, the first thing that capitalists do is, well, let's raise some profits by cutting down labor costs. And this is why you don't see as many people working on the farm as we originally did, because the it quite literally people have been progressed out of a fucking job. And it's sad and it's kind of and some of it is that most people don't need to. People don't need to work that. Was that an Apollo? Oh well. A lot of it is people don't need to. A lot of it is people that they don't need to have those jobs just because productivity has gone way through the roof. Productivity has progressed so much and so far and so fast that it's not even that their jobs were actually cut because of just profits alone. It was cut because those jobs just weren't there anymore. They weren't actually around. They had been progressed out of existence. And the key thing is those jobs will never come back. They won't. You're not going to get the people who had to fucking fill up you're not going to get the people who had to go out in the hut and mix the nitroglycerin because dynamite exists. You're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get the people who whose job it was to bring ice to the different to bring ice for preservation to the different little apartments and homes throughout the neighborhood, because refrigeration is more widespread. You're not going to get those people again that actually used to be able, who had jobs that just no longer exist because of reasons. You're not. But let's continue.
He doesn't need them. He can produce just as much. We'll keep our example simple. He can produce just as much output with half the workers that before took twice as many workers. So he fires half his workers. He sells the same amount of goods, because half the workers can produce that, sells it for the same price. We're going to keep our examples simple. Gets the same revenue as he did before, uses the same proportion of it before to replace the tools, equipment, and raw materials he used up, and now pays his workers. But now he needs only half as much because he has half as many workers. So he gives the half that's left the wages they've gotten before, same wages, everything's the same, and we're done. But his profits have gone way up because the money he doesn't have to give to half his wages, he keeps for himself. He produced the same amount of goods, sold them for the same price, got the same revenue, but had half the wage bill, and so his profits went up. He is smiling all the way to the bank where he deposits his profits. What happens to the half of his workers he laid off? They have no job. They just lost their job because of a machine that was invented. By the way, just a little footnote, that's one of the reasons working people are very skeptical about productivity improvements. That's not because they don't like progress, but because progress threatens them in this very practical way. Because they get unemployed. And what's going to happen to them? Well, if they're lucky, they'll go find another job. But they may have to work for less money to find a job, particularly if they have no savings and have to find a job quickly.
All right, so I'm not laughing at the whole with the point that he just made. I'm actually laughing at Finn here. He tried to come for me again, but that's actually pretty spot on. What happens is, and I've seen it, shit, in my own company, where productivity has gone sky high for different things that we've had to actually do, and because of that, maybe not people get fired, but you work in a job where attrition sits in, or it comes is super effective, and you actually just see it where people say, "Hey, because we made this run a little bit better, we don't need to hire that same amount of people. We don't need to have a certain amount of people replaced because we've made things more productive." But let's continue.
You can understand that. Many of them end up finding a temporary job or a job at considerably lower pay. That may mean that they have to ask, if they're a man, for their wife to go to work if she hasn't already done so. They may need their teenagers to work on the weekend. They may need the elderly to come back out of a retirement if they even had one to enjoy. You can see the problems, and if they don't find a job, or if the job they find is low wage, they become the poor. Progress in productivity renders people poor, who then become recipients of welfare or the very people pointed to as the reason for a universal basic income. Is there an alternative to this story with its good news about productivity and efficiency and its bad news about the human cost?
All right, so one of the things that, like, it's a vicious fucking cycle where you actually see people that are just referencing Mark Blythe again. he has a story about a guy named Gary from Gary, Indiana. And Gary used to be a factory worker, and he used to get paid $30 an hour, and he actually, he made a good living. And then they automated, and they actually cut Gary's job. And once they automated, they found more profit by moving the factory out of the area. And once they did that, well, he's like, oh no, the technocrats came in and said, well, you can get a job in call center, and you can still make, you not making as much as you used to, but you still can make a good living. You get down to $10, $20 an hour working at a call center. And then the call center ups and moves it because of progress, where you can actually have phone calls in different countries. And what happens then? Gary loses his call center job, and then he's treated to a great employment at one of the largest employers in the USA, Walmart, where he's getting paid $11 an hour to greet people at the door at fucking Walmart. He's lost effectively $20 an hour in the work that he used to do, all because in the name of progress. And they wonder why people got mad and voted for the orange buffoon. But let's continue.
And the answer is, you bet there's an alternative. And really, if I had to summarize the goal of today's program, it's to make sure that alternative is in your minds and therefore part of the conversation in this country as we face the next wave of progress in productivity. So here's the alternative. Suppose again the same example. An employer, 100 workers, a machine comes along that makes all workers twice as productive as they were before. Only now the story changes. Instead of the employer firing half the workers for all the reasons we just went through, that isn't the solution. Here's the alternative. Every worker keeps his or her job and works half as many hours per day. Let's go through it.
Now, this is one of the things that you see it actually being done in Europe, where productivity has gone up. People haven't lost their jobs, but people have been has had more free time, where they use that productivity in place of not being rich, but being able to take more time off, being able to actually enjoy their families, enjoy different hobbies. You see this productivity this way. And quite frankly, this is the route that we can actually go down. But let's continue.
Instead of 8 hours, 4. If you work only 4 hours with a machine that's twice as productive, you'll produce just as much as you did before. You're working a half day, not a full day. Same number of goods produced. The employer sells them, make it simple, at the same price, pulls in the same revenue, pays the workers the same wage he paid them before, even though they're only working half time, and he keeps the same profit he had before. Because everything's the same. The revenue's the same, replacing the tools, equipment, and raw materials is the same, the wages are the same, and so the profits are the same. Well, what has happened here? What has happened here is we've had a technical improvement. We have now machines twice as effective as before. And who has gained from that? The workers have gained. What they've all gained is half a workday off. To use the technical language in economics, we have benefited from technological progress.
Yes.
In the form of leisure. The majority of people who are workers have benefited from progress. They have 4 free hours every day that they, never had before. The goods produced, same as before. The profits to the employer, same as before. Wow. The benefit of productivity going in the form of leisure to the majority of people versus the benefit of productivity going to a small minority, the owners and top executives of the company, in the form of profit. Now, let me ask you, if there were a democratic choice, the majority, being workers, you can bet, would use productivity to produce leisure for themselves rather than profits for the minority. But because the majority doesn't run capitalism, because it is not a democratic system, a small minority, owners and operators of enterprise, use technology for the profits they take rather than the leisure that could be provided to the mass of people. And let me talk a little bit about that alternative that shows up.
So let's just address that. And this is what kind of gets me about it. You actually get people who actually would want to they don't want people to have free time. They want to actually get people where it is like we're gonna squeeze every fucking ounce of free time enjoyment out of people's life, and it's never in the sense of maliciousness. In most cases, it's people feel that idle hands is the devil's is idle hands are the devil's playground, where it's just like this whole puritanical thing of everybody needs to work in order to make sure that they're a benefit of society. And they took the wrong lesson from the 1940s, or they took the wrong lesson from when fascism rose. It wasn't that people didn't have a job that kind of pissed them off. It's the fact that people couldn't survive that pissed them off. The fact of the matter is that if people aren't so scared of their economic security, you wouldn't get half the shit that you get with these fools. It's just like you wouldn't get some of the problems that you see with these idiots. But no, because people think it's well, people have to work, people have to be busy. We do it with fucking kids. We actually set kids up to for failure in a lot of schools where they said no, they have to be in school because of reasons. They have to learn to actually be. It's just sad because you can actually encourage more critical thinking. You can actually encourage more. How many people do you know that don't watch the news because they feel that it's depressing to actually look at the shit? How many people do you know that don't watch, that don't take the time to read books because they're too tired? I will say this. A lot of times when I'm coming home from a stream, I actually am just like horrified. Like how tired I am because I'm working 9.5 hour days, which are really 10 hour days because a half hour lunch doesn't mean shit. Like this shit really fucking happens. People are quite literally working and stressing themselves to death because fucking reasons. And yet and still it's just heartbreaking. It's quite literally heartbreaking. So all the rest of this, let's hear out the last few minutes of this.
Too infrequently in public discussions. If you cut everybody's work hours, you're not dividing society between those who work and those who don't. all those tensions disappear. Everybody works. Long ago, if we didn't have capitalism, we would have understood that the way you handle productivity on the farm, in the factory, in the office, you name it, is if it's more productive, let's all work fewer hours. Then we don't divide ourselves into those who keep the job and those who lose it. There being no real fairness in that anyway. And it's much less socially divisive. It's much less likely to explode. It doesn't give right-wing politicians an opportunity to play different groups of workers off against each other. It is a more democratic, fairer, and better way to use productivity gains. And a little final point. If all the workers understood that every improvement in productivity enhanced their leisure, the time they would have to be with their family, to be with their friends, to develop their cultural, hobby, sports interests, if they understood that, they would all be pushing for productivity increases. We don't have that now. Why? Because every worker who sees an improvement in technology worries in the back of his or her mind, if we have that, if we have the new machine, the new way, the new saving, the new efficiency, will my job be removed? Will I be the one required with my family to pay the price that capitalism extracts from technical progress? My guess, we'd have much more improvements in productivity if everybody was on the same page as gaining from it. Every worker would get more leisure. The capitalist would not lose any profit. What an arrangement. There is no excuse, neither moral, nor ethical, nor democratic, nor logical, to continue with a capitalist system that so badly uses and abuses technical change as the one we have. Worker co-ops would be institutions that would institutionalize using productivity for leisure and not for the profits of a few.
All right, so man, that's a powerful statement at the end of that video. And what's telling is that I'll and this is what I don't get about the whole and I'm gonna actually switch games, but at first I gotta get up and give me something to drink. What I actually don't like is where you actually see a lot of these people who say, let's build a great communist society without borders and all this other good shit. They they don't understand that people have a built-in fear of losing what they have, and they don't say, "Well, we're gonna just give everything to we're not gonna make sure everybody have financial security." They don't say that. They don't build it up that way. They build it up as we're gonna impose our system from the top down, and then everybody is gonna just agree with it. And it's just like, no, say like have that issue, have that thing where you reach out to people like they're fucking people. Have that issue where people are actually truly believe that they are, it benefits them not from a preachy pulpit, but from just a one-on-one conversation. God damn it. So, I'm going to actually take a break for a second. Not even a break for a second. I need to go grab me some water. So, hold on, guys. I'll be right back. guys. Had to give me some motherfucking water. All right. Let's just see something. All right, so let's just. Do I want to do a TED Talk? Do I want to do a TED Talk next? Say this to watch later. Let's do this one. All right, cool. So, all right. So let's start this video.
For the times they are a changing. For the times they are a changing. For the times they are a changing.
All right. I am not gonna pronounce this motherfucker's name. I'm gonna wait for him to say it. I'm gonna do my caution and trick. Hey, I don't want to mispronounce your name. Could you say it for me? I can't say Yanis or Giannis. It may be Giannis, but I'm not gonna pronounce this motherfucker's last name. Let's see what he got to say.
Democracy. In the West,
He didn't even say
we
it.
make a colossal mistake taking it for granted. We see democracy not as the most fragile of flowers that it really is, but we see it as part of our society's furniture. We tend to think of it as an intransient given. We mistakenly believe that capitalism begets inevitably democracy. It doesn't. Singapore's Lee Kuan Yew and his great imitators in Beijing have demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that it is perfectly possible to have a flourishing capitalism, spectacular growth, while politics remains democracy-free. Indeed, democracy is receding in our neck of the woods here in Europe. Earlier this year, while I was representing Greece, the newly elected Greek government, in the Eurogroup as its finance minister, I was told in no uncertain terms that our nation's democratic process, our elections, could not be allowed to interfere with the economic policies that were being implemented in Greece. At that moment, I felt that there could be no greater vindication of Lee Kuan Yew, of the Chinese Communist Party, indeed of some recalcitrant friends of mine who kept telling me that democracy would be banned if it ever threatened to change anything.
So, and this is the shit that's like, and I get what the anarcho communists actually say with this shit, where, you know, democracy is a fragile thing. The fact is, they want to throw democracy out. They want to throw representative democracy out, which is some bulwark against what straight democracy would actually be. What was it who Socrates said that democracy is both simultaneously the worst form of government and the best form of government? Because it's so fucking fragile. It's so fucking fragile where it takes effort for a democracy to remain. But let's continue.
Tonight, here, I want to present to you an economic case for an authentic democracy. I want to ask you to join me in believing again that Lee Kuan Yew, the Chinese Communist Party, and indeed the Eurogroup are wrong in believing that we can dispense with democracy. That we need an authentic, boisterous democracy, and without democracy, our societies will be nastier, our future bleak, and our great new technologies wasted. Speaking of waste, allow me to point out an interesting paradox that is threatening our economies as we speak. I call it the Twin Peaks paradox. One peak, you understand, you know it, you recognize it, is the mountain of debts that has been casting a long shadow over the United States, Europe, the whole world. We all recognize the mountain of debts. But few people discern its twin, a mountain of idle cash belonging to rich savers and to corporations, too terrified to invest it into the productive activities that can generate the incomes from which we can extinguish the mountain of debts and which can produce all those things that humanity desperately needs, like green energy. Now, let me give you two numbers.
So, the point that he's actually making is that there are trillions of dollars that are sitting off to the sidelines because capitalists don't want to invest because they feel that they're be throwing their money away, or really they feel that they won't get the return on investments of their money like they really want. There are tons of money just sitting out there. It's just sitting there because capitalists do have that fucking fear. And it's the tragedy of the commons where people say, well, this person is going to be wasteful, or they're going to improperly use these things, so I need to save my money. With everybody saving, who's spending? But let's continue.
Numbers. Over the last 3 months in the United States, in Britain, and in the Eurozone, we have invested collectively $3.4 trillion on all the wealth-producing goods, things like industrial plants, machinery, office blocks, schools, roads, railways, machinery, and so on and so forth. 3.4 trillion sounds like a lot of money until you compare it to the 5.1 trillion that has been slushing around in the same countries, in our financial institutions, doing absolutely nothing during the same period, except inflating stock exchanges and bidding up house prices. So, a mountain of debt and a mountain of idle cash form twin peaks, failing to cancel each other out through the normal operation of the markets. The result is stagnant wages. More than a quarter of 25 to 54-year-olds in America, in Japan, and in Europe out of work, and consequently, low aggregate demand, which, in a never-ending cycle, reinforces the pessimism of the investors, who, fearing low demand, reproduce it by not investing, exactly like Oedipus's father, who, terrified by the prophecy of the oracle that his son would grow up to kill him, unwittingly engineered the conditions that ensured that Oedipus, his son, would kill him.
So, and this is like, okay, I'm like, okay, and you see this over and over again in classic myths, of just by you trying to avoid the thing, you actually cause the thing. So, let's talk about a favorite story of mine, Perseus. So everybody knows about how Perseus killed Medusa, cut off her head and shit like that. So, what started Perseus down on his journey is this. It was a king. He had a beautiful daughter. He received a prophecy from the oracle that his daughter would have a son that would actually destroy him, the king. So he's like, fuck it. Let's make sure this shit doesn't happen. So he took his daughter, locked her in a tower, and because she was in a tower, Zeus found favor with her and gave her a golden shower, and she became pregnant with Perseus. And yes, this is why we get golden showers. A shower of gold. But, like, that's what fucking happened. So, He was like, "What man touched you? No man touched her." So he was like, "Fuck this! You're getting the fuck away from me. You and that bastard that was born to you." He put her on a boat. She goes off. They live in a land, and then this other king, Perseus, grows up. This other king actually says, "Hey, you look pretty good, even though you got a kid. We're gonna try to marry you." But Perseus, dude, you dude, like, we need to talk. I don't want you around. So Percy, so I'm gonna give you, and he needs to say don't want you around, but he like, we need to get this motherfucker away. So he sends Perseus on a quest to get the head of Medusa. You have the adventures. He flies, gets the flying sandals. He cuts off Medusa's head. Um, frees Cassius and Pegasus from her head because she was perpetually pregnant from her pairing with Poseidon. He brings the head of Medusa, who still has the power to turn men into stone. And lo and behold, his grandfather, a king, is happy that her daughter is finally being married off. And that definitely Perseus is, he's dead because he went to go after Medusa. So he pulls her head out and he says, "Oh king, here's your prize." And both of them turn and actually look at the head of Medusa, and they're both killed or turned to stone. Because you quite literally try to beat fate, you have caused your own fate. And the classic stories are littered with this. And it's a lot of it is trying to beat fate. Never try to beat fate because you end up like fuck. Let's go to God of War. One of my favorite series. What happened in God of War 2? Zeus was like, the cycle ends here. By him actively trying to kill Kratos, and it's actually throughout the whole story, actively trying to kill Kratos, trying to control the prophecy, he sealed his own fate. But, hindsight is 2020.
This is my quarrel with capitalism. Its gross wastefulness. All this idle cash should be energized to improve lives, to develop human talents, and indeed to finance all these technologies, green technologies, which are absolutely essential for saving planet Earth. Am I right in believing that democracy might be the answer? I believe so, but before we move on, what do we mean by democracy? Aristotle defined democracy as the constitution in which the free and the poor, being in the majority, control government. Now, of course, Athenian democracy excluded too many: women, migrants, and of course the slaves. But it would be a mistake to dismiss the significance of ancient Athenian democracy on the basis of whom it excluded. What was more pertinent, and continues to be so, about ancient Athenian democracy, it was the inclusion of the working poor, who not only acquired the right to free speech, but more importantly, crucially, they acquired the right to political judgments that were afforded equal weight in the decision-making concerning matters of state.
So this is a key thing, and this is one of the reasons why I have an issue. I have that concern with like people that say we need to totally rewrite the system completely, 100%, and get rid of everything that we have now that works so fucking far. And if you want to be mad and call me a centrist about actually the surprisingly radical thing of saying that let's not go back to the whole tyranny of the majority, let's have a more fair and equal society, then call me a centrist. I don't give a fuck. But we have these things where we shouldn't have a fear of a system that had at once excluded people but also gives us the opportunity to include more people. Let's be honest. How did women get the right to vote if they didn't already have the right to vote? Shit can change if you change the mentality of people. Yes. And so let's not try to get rid of that system that encourages us to actually always advance and evolve. People want progress as it is now, or praise progress as it is now. Let's also have that progress in the way we think, and to be more more be more equal to each other. I was gonna fuck up the word anyway, but let's continue.
Now, of course, Athenian democracy didn't last long. Like a candle that burns brightly, it burned out quickly. And indeed, our liberal democracies today do not have their roots in ancient Athens. They have their roots in the Magna Carta, in the 1688 Glorious Revolution, indeed in the American Constitution. Whereas Athenian democracy was focusing on the masterless citizen and empowering the working poor, our liberal democracies are founded on a Magna Carta tradition, which was, after all, a charter for masters. And indeed, liberal democracy only surfaced when it was possible to separate fully the political sphere from the economic sphere, so as to confine the democratic process fully in the political sphere, leaving the economic sphere, the corporate world if you want, as a democracy-free zone. Now, in our democracies today, this separation of the economic from the political sphere, the moment it started happening, it gave rise to an inexorable, epic struggle between the economic sphere colonizing the political sphere, eating into its power. Have you wondered why politicians are not what they used to be? It's not because their DNA has degenerated. It is rather because one can be in government today and not in power, because power has migrated from the political to the economic sphere, which is separate.
Okay.
Indeed, I spoke about my quarrel with capitalism. If you think...
Okay, so that's actually pretty spot on. What happened was, and with the passing of David Koch, you actually see it. A lot of it is capitalism start buying politicians. Now, one way to fucking resolve that is pass an amendment to take the money out of politics. Yeah, let's do that shit so we can stop that colonization of politics in order to serve business. Business should work the other way around. Business should serve the people. But let's continue.
About it, it is a little bit like a population of predators that are so successful in decimating the prey that they must feed on that in the end they starve. Similarly, the economic sphere has been colonizing and cannibalizing the political sphere to such an extent that it is undermining itself, causing economic crisis. Corporate power is increasing, political goods are devaluing, inequality is rising, aggregate demand is falling, and CEOs of corporations are too scared to invest the cash of their corporations. So, the more capitalism succeeds in taking the demos out of democracy, the taller the twin peaks and the greater the waste of human resources and humanity's wealth. Clearly, if this is right, we must reunite the political and the economic sphere, and better do it with a demos being in control, like in ancient Athens, except without the slaves or the exclusion of women and migrants. Now, this is not an original idea. The Marxist left had that idea 100 years ago, and it didn't go very well, did it? The lesson that we learned from the Soviet debacle is that only by a miracle will the working poor be re-empowered, as they were in ancient Athens, without creating new forms of brutality and waste. But there is a solution. Eliminate the working poor. Capitalism is doing it by replacing low-wage workers with automata, androids, robots. The problem is that as long as the economic and the political spheres are separate, automation makes the twin peaks taller, the waste loftier, and the social conflicts deeper, including, soon, I believe, in places like China. So we need to reconfigure, we need to reunite the economic and the political spheres, but we better do it by democratizing the reunified sphere, lest we end up with a surveillance-mad hyper-autocracy that makes The Matrix, the movie, look like a documentary. So the question...
So this is back in 2015. And the problem with the Chinese government isn't that they're communists. No. The problem with the Chinese government is they want to make motherfucking money. That's why we have these trade wars that we're doing, because it's about fucking money. It's not about, and you see when it's we can't crush you to get all the wealth and power that we look at what's happening in Hong Kong area now. The biggest demonstration is the Hong Kong airport. People want to actually have more freedom in what they choose, and it's maddening when you see the shit, because you know that it's just a devaluation of people's whole, like, no, you're gonna do what we want because we want this motherfucking power. Well, let's continue.
The question is not whether capitalism will survive the technological innovations it is spawning. The more interesting question is whether capitalism will be succeeded by something resembling a Matrix dystopia, or something much closer to a Star Trek-like society where machines serve the humans and the humans expend their energies exploring the universe and indulging in long debates about the meaning of life in some ancient Athenian-like high-tech agora. I think we can afford to be optimistic. But what would it take? What would it look like to have this Star Trek-like utopia instead of the Matrix-like dystopia? In practical terms, allow me to share just briefly a couple of examples. At the level of the enterprise, imagine a capital market where you earn capital as you work, and where your capital follows you from one job to another, from one company to another, and the company, whichever one you happen to work at that time, is solely owned by those who happen to work in it at that moment. Then all income stems from capital, from profits. And the very concept of wage labor becomes obsolete. No more separation between those who own but do not work in the company and those who work but do not own the company. No more a tug of war between capital and labor. No great gap between investment and saving. Indeed, no towering twin peaks. At the level of the global political economy, imagine for a moment that our national currencies have a free-floating exchange rate with a universal global digital currency, one that is issued by the International Monetary Fund, the G20, on behalf of all humanity. And imagine further that all international trade is denominated in this currency. Let's call it the cosmos, in units of cosmos. With every government agreeing to be paying into a common fund a sum of cosmos units proportional to the country's trade deficit, or indeed to a country's trade surplus. And imagine that that fund is utilized to invest in green technologies, especially in parts of the world where investment funding is scarce. This is not a new idea. It's what, effectively, John Maynard Keynes proposed in 1944 at the Bretton Woods Conference.
Okay, so, damn, that's actually a good-ass plan. And countries still keep their own sovereignty. Countries will... Because there is a thing where people are always going to want to be their own sovereign people. Be it from a state be it from a town, county, county, state, whatever. People are gonna always keep their sovereignty. This way, people have sovereignty still, and you're right. The Giannis is right. You don't have this whole wage labor thing where people are subsistent. It's subsistence actually just depend on what somebody can barter you down to. But let's continue.
The problem is that back then, they didn't have the technology to implement it. Now we do, especially in the context of a reunified political, economic sphere. The world that I am describing to you is simultaneously libertarian in that it prioritizes empowered individuals, Marxist, since it will have confined to the dustbin of history the division between capital and labor, and Keynesian, global Keynesian. But above all else, it is a world in which we will be able to imagine an authentic democracy. Will such a world dawn? Or shall we descend into a matrix-like dystopia? The answer lies in a political choice that we shall be making collectively. It is our choice, and we better make it democratically. Thank you.
Oh, and so I don't know if it's going to be questions afterwards. I really don't feel like answers to the questions afterwards. Shit. It says something where you can actually, like, Keynes actually saw a better future, but Friedman came in and fucked that up because he wanted power. And like, I don't get it because that part of my brain is not working. I just don't get the wanton want of destruction for people just because of fucking power. Maybe that's just me. But we have to do something. And, like I've heard people say it about, democratizing the workplace. And whereas I don't feel the workplace should be a full democracy, just because when people invest their own, I guess this is what actually gets me about the whole argument, what I was talking about non-compete the other day, and his argument with Destiny. People take more pride when they have ownership of things, when they actually have, they feel like they have a stake in it. And so, no, people won't be lazy and they won't just not work because they get paid a certain amount. But people also want to work. People also want to feel as if they have some agency in their lives. And that includes capital owners. They want to have agencies as well. Agency as well. They want to feel as if they're doing something with the money, and which signifies time and pain and things that they've actually done in order to acquire that. In some cases, even if it's an unjust claim that they made their money this way, they still feel that it is theirs. And so this way, you do have worker co-ops. This way, you do still have it where people have a feeling of ownership in the direction of their lives they're going, without fucking tearing away somebody's sense of themselves or the work or the effort they put into shit. But anyway, I did about 2 hours. I'm actually gonna take a break reset up. I want to actually get into Spider-Man, so if you actually just see the stream actually refresh and you see me get into Spider-Man, that's actually Give me about a half an hour. Give me about 12. We're going to actually just address that. So, thank you guys for enjoying the stream that I did today. And I will see you guys later. Peace.